everyone, and welcome to this new video on running technique. Today we're going to discuss a very common running injury known as shin splints. Now, I'm not a big fan of that term, and neither are a lot of other practitioners, and that's because it's very unspecific. It's often used to describe virtually any pain associated with the lower leg, so it's not very helpful in isolating exactly what we're dealing with. One of the most common things that it refers to, however, is an injury known as Medial Tibial Stress Syndrome, or MTSS. This is pain along the bottom 2/3 of the inside of the shin bone, and the muscle responsible for this pain is the tibialis posterior. This injury is often associated with training load error, so for example doing too much too soon and exceeding that 10% rule. There is, however, another potential cause, which I'm going to go through in this video, and I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can combat it. Now I'm going to play a very short video of myself running a couple of times. Bear in mind that I am over-exaggerating this so you can see a bit more clearly, but look out for where my foot is landing in relation to the midline of my body. Hopefully from that you can see what's going on. Now I'm going to put in a makeshift line to illustrate roughly where the midline of the body should be. As you can see from this, my driving leg, i.e. my left leg, is coming way across that line and passing over to the other side. So I'm doing what's known as a crossover gait. Once again, I'd like to point out that this is over-exaggerated just so you can see a bit clearer. But even if this is done to a lesser extent, it could still have a negative effect. So if this is like you need to reduce the amount of crossover gait pattern in order to reduce the likelihood of developing injuries like MTSS. And the way to do this is to get your foot to plant further out, or laterally. This is where our lateral and contralateral stability comes in, which we'll get to shortly. So what potential link is there between a crossover gait and an MTSS injury? Well, here's a little graphic to demonstrate just that. There is a theory that this type of varus impact results in bending forces or bending moments that put increased pressure on the lower leg. So first of all, we need to think about what specific forces are actually present here. We have the driving force from our muscles and gravity pulling us into the ground. And then, as Newton's third law of equal and opposite reactions states, we need another force coming back up the other way to balance us out. And this force is ground reaction force. The yellow arrow represents where the ground reaction force would normally be. However, when running with a crossover gait with reduced width, this means that you're more likely to foot strike further towards the outside of your foot, so more like here. This altered direction from this force puts a compressive bending moment onto the outside of the tibia bone. This in turn then causes the inside of the bone, i.e. the medial side, to experience increased lengthening stress, which could then accumulate in the tissues and result in medial tibial stress syndrome. Now let's go over a couple of drills to eliminate this crossover gait. The first one is to find a line. This can be on a road, like in this video, or it can be on a running track or playing field. As you can see, the idea is to run either side of the line, doing your best to avoid touching it with your feet, as each foot should land on the outside of the mark. The thicker the line, the harder this will be to achieve. The next video shows some lunges. Again, the idea is to keep the feet on either side of the line. To help do this, we need to remember our proper lunging technique. The knee should track over towards the outside of the foot, so it shouldn't be collapsing in towards the midline, as this is part of the whole problem in the first place. It's also worth mentioning, however, that these technical drills may not be enough to fix the problem on their own, and that's because the whole reason that this crossover gait occurs in the first place is because the muscles responsible for preventing this movement aren't strong enough in order to do so. So this is essentially boiling down to our lateral and contralateral stability. So for example, if I was to stand on my right leg so this is essentially simulating me running and my right leg is my driving leg, then in order to maintain this nice wide gait, then I'm relying on my lateral stability, for example in the glute medius muscle, and also the contralateral stability in the oblique muscles on the opposite side, as well as all-round good abdominal core strength. This of course stops my pelvis from moving and collapsing in like that, or another way that we compensate for this lack of strength is of course bringing our leg over our midline as if we're running along a tightrope, and then of course that helps us in order to maintain our balance, but of course that's cheating, and that, as I've already explained, puts pressure on the inside of the shin potentially. So how can we improve this stability around our trunk? Well, a good place to start will be my 30-day strength challenge, which is available for free on my Facebook page, my Instagram account and my YouTube channel. So there's obviously a lot of videos on there, but some good specific ones within that series to start with, which can target these muscles, are days 1, 2, 7 and 14. I would, however, recommend that if you do have a specific injury, in order to get the best results, it will be worth booking in for a full biomechanical assessment so you know exactly what you're dealing with. I hope this video has helped, and I'll see you again soon.